I fully believe that when you come from certain childhoods, you are more inclined to choose certain types of partners. And nowhere is this more true than if you were raised by a borderline or narcissistic parent or parents with these traits. You are often more inclined to choose partners who are similar. And this is definitely true for many people, I believe, who have chosen and wound up with narcissistic husbands. Except the problem is all of these videos on narcissism and all these things, which are amazing, by the way, we don't often see these behaviors in the beginning. A, they don't often display them as strongly. B, we don't see them because they often feel so recognizable, so like home. We are so used to being caretakers. If we had parents with certain disorders or traits or characteristics, that when we spot a partner who feels like home, sometimes that home is like the toxic home. It is like the toxic wound of love. And we get lured in by the charm and all of those things that narcissists especially are so great at. And we wake up one day realizing that we hate them. We hate ourselves for being with them. We don't know who we are. We've relinquished our power, our individuality, our hearts, our minds, our souls, and we feel trapped oftentimes because it's not easy to leave a narcissist, especially if you have children. In fact, you never really truly do leave them in some regards because of the attachment with your children. And I often wonder what it would be like if we could recognize the signs before. I always say I wish I'd had someone in therapy, which all my clients did, who was asking us before our marriages, are you sure this is a good fit? What things make you happy? Where are the issues? Oftentimes we are, even if we're told those things, we don't pay attention. But that's a different video on recognizing the signs in dating. But today's video is all about what it's like to wake up and realize you're married to a narcissist and what the signs are in a man, all right? So before I get started, my name is Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I hope you will subscribe and hit that little bell, click the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos. And please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, hopefully. And also please feel free to engage in the comments and let me know what else you want to know more about, what you think I forgot, and any other things you want to share with your own narcissistic stories, because the truth is when you hear one person's story, it helps you not feel so alone and it validates your story and your wound. So let's get started. I have about 22 signs I'm going to quickly go through. I know that's a lot of signs, but let's be honest, narcissists are a lot in themselves, all right? So the first sign is that sex is highly conditional. And as a result, it is seen as an extension of his worthiness, of your worthiness, and there can be a lot of poutiness and demands. If he doesn't get sex the way he wants with the frequency, it doesn't matter if it's a rational amount of time or an irrational amount of time, he sees it as an extension of his value and his need to dominate and to be seen. And if he doesn't get it, he'll often be pouty, like I said before, and irritable and angry and punishing. And many women will describe just giving in to avoid dealing with that. But it feels very much like I only love you when you're giving me the sex that I want. And that feels really, really bad. The next issue is that with narcissistic men, that when children arrive, they don't do a very good job of acclimating. Now, the research shows that most families, even without narcissism, really struggle. Most marriages really struggle when we have new babies because the shift becomes on the baby and the mother often, or the other partner, and there's a neglect sometimes that can be felt as opposed to like a maturing into our family is expanding and this is just how it works. I have to move myself to the back burner sometimes. Not with a narcissist. A narcissist is a direct threat to their value. And so you can see this like, don't forget about me, I'm important too. Or, you love that baby more than me. It's like, what? Yeah. So that can be really difficult to deal with and very also conditional and or punishment around how dare you abandon me for the baby. I'm going to go do my own thing, be with my friends, pursue my hobbies, have an affair, like whatever they can justify. And let's just say this, if a narcissistic man is not already cheating on you, when a baby arrives and there is no longer the focus on them with intimacy, this is often a perfect time for them to start. And it gives them great justification for why they might as well take care of their own needs because, you know what, you're not doing it. So why can't I find it somewhere else? It will be done in secret oftentimes, but it will often be done. The next one is a little less obvious, which is sometimes that narcissists are described as jealous, but oftentimes they actually are not jealous in the beginning or ever. They have this sort of, why would I be jealous? Like, you can't find better than me. And that seems confusing because in the beginning it's like, oh, I'm so confident and so secure. I trust in us. You can kind of feel that. But the truth is, he's just so narcissistic, he doesn't actually think you'll actually leave him, which becomes a problem when you do. The next one is the hallmark of our narcissism, which is they're overly sensitive to feedback or criticism. And everything feels like criticism or feedback. And what happens is, even if they are able to hear you, they still feel like it's criticism. Sorry, there's some hair floating around. They still feel like it's criticism. And at the end of the day, they're just going to dismiss whatever you say anyway, because it doesn't matter and it's not even relevant. Next one is they can seem highly ethical and moral, but really this is sort of an act. And so they'll be judging other people and I can't believe they did that. And yet they will turn around and do it themselves. And so there often can be this confusing nature in the beginning when you're getting lured in. Oh, they're so, stuck to their morals and all that. No, it's just not serving their purpose right now. And so they'll be flipping that when it serves them. The next one is no boundaries. Now this is a very classic one with the NPD and BPD. And this involves everything from eating off your plate to not wearing clothes appropriately, to walking around naked, to being disrespectful in terms of what you ask them to respect in your own boundaries. It can be inappropriate touching, sexual comments, even if you're split, it doesn't matter. They have no problem disregarding your boundaries. The next sign is arrogance and entitlement. It's a classic NPD sign, right? It goes with that attempt to hide that low self-esteem, which is the hallmark inside of a narcissist. But it's this very, sort of confident, charming way in the beginning. It looks like, wow, this guy is like really strong and put together. He believes in himself. He's so powerful. And often narcissistic men are very powerful. They often do well in life because they have this sort of inflated sense of self that allows them to take risks and put themselves out there and kind of like BS everyone else around them. And it can be really intoxicating in the beginning, but it's shallow inside, right? But the initial part is this arrogance and entitlement. The next one is that most narcissistic men are very good at control and they love to control. And they do it so well that sometimes you'll actually think it was your idea, right? They have this way of just setting up situations to get what they want that ends up putting them in the position of power. Alongside that, the next sign is they're very good at lying. And the reason why they're so good at lying is because they believe the BS they're selling you. Like, they completely believe it. They're justified. There's no reason why they wouldn't be. And so when they're lying to you, it is so believable because they believe it. They believe their own lies. And it will cover everything from affairs to their job, to money, to, where they've gone, what they've done. They have no problem sort of compartmentalizing their bad behavior. And whether it's, like I said before, whether it's, happy ending massages or cheating, they will find ways to justify whatever it is they want. And they are really good at lying about it, so much so that you often believe them. The next sign, number 10, is that their activities are what the activities are, right? It's all about what they want to do. If they have a passion, you better have a passion too. They're going to take you with them. They're going to sell you on it. You're going to think you love it as much in the beginning and wake up one day and be like, wait a minute, I freaking hate football or whatever it is, or I hate going on a boat, or I hate gardening. I don't know, you pick something. But the point is that whether it's their vacation, their activities, and they will be very selfish sometimes in pursuing those activities, their hobbies, they will have no problem leaving you with the kids on their own, doing what they want to do. But at the end of the day, that's all it's about, is what they want to do. The next one is the hallmark of a narcissist is guilt. Guilt tripping is the favorite tool of most narcissists, and they are brilliant at it. They are so good at making you feel bad for being you. You feel bad for having any needs or wants or desires. And you'll end up oftentimes thinking like, wait a minute, maybe I am kind of being selfish, because they're so good at it. They love to tell you how much you've hurt them, how you don't get them. And in a marriage, that can be really hard because you feel like the bad guy while you're also losing your sense of self. And that's a really bad place for you to be. Of course, as a result of that, we see a lot of gaslighting that all ties in together, where it's like, you end up thinking like, wait a minute, am I crazy? Maybe I am, selfish, like I said. Maybe I do have intimacy problems. Maybe it's my fault we're not being together as much. Whatever it is, they're really good at gaslighting you and making you think that whatever reality they've spun is the truth. And it can be also really confusing as you start to unentangle yourself from these types of relationships. Now, the next thing they often do is they are really good at making promises they won't keep. So even if they are able to sometimes in a sort of backdoor way own their behavior to sort of get you to shut up or make you think you're being heard, they never change. They will never keep their promises, and they never change. And you will find yourself over and over again thinking like, I had this conversation with you, you said you would change. And one of the most common issues with narcissists is that year in and year out, they do not change. And you keep hoping they will, and you keep staying, but it doesn't happen. The next one, number 15, is that if they make money, they use money as a tool for power. And because they are so used to having this power, and oftentimes their partners are either stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home partners, or they make less money. If they have money, which they often do, they will wield it as a tool to get what they want. And they can be so masterful around this issue that you end up feeling like, okay, well, you do work hard, you do make the money, so I'll just let go of what I feel about this design issue or this vacation or this preference for our kids. They're really good at using that to wield their power and also to keep you sort of hostage and knowing that that's part of their control. The next issue is that children are a reflection of them, right? So children act as a tool that either gets in the way or somehow magnifies this image or illusion they have of their lives and themselves. But the problem is they're never really present with their kids. And so the kids either reflect them, and when they're little, they'll often leave the kids with nannies and babysitters and friends and family and grandparents. And then as the kids grow up and begin to push back, they then tend to, push back against the kids. They will tell the kids that relationship issues are their fault. They will blame the kids like they're little adults. They will name call the kids. They will tell them like, I told you you'd never make it at that. Like, well, you should have listened to me. They often don't know how to validate their children's emotions, and the kids, like the spouse, often end up feeling alone and misunderstood and isolated and never really seen for who they are. And because the narcissist uses guilt so much, they can actually feel bad, and that's that shame for existing. I'm so sorry that I've caused you all this pain while you were supposed to be the parent to me. And at the core, they feel rejected for who they are. Number 17 is that narcissistic men often contradict themselves. That kind of goes back to what I was saying, how they can be seemingly ethical, but not so much. And so they'll do something and then be really upset for you doing it. And so they have a really hard time sticking to whatever they believe if it doesn't serve their purpose. And so that can create situations where you're like, I thought you weren't okay with smoking. I thought you thought that was too many drinks. And like, well, now it works for me, so it's fine. Where it's cursing, language, decisions, whatever, they have no problem changing it to fit what they decide is justifiable. Narcissistic men will often give lavish gifts to make up for their absence, their criticism, their disengagement all year round. And the gift isn't to say, oh, I'm so grateful for you, what you do for our family, whatever it is. It's about, look what a great partner I am. Look how lavish I am. Look how much I care for you. It all is a reflection back towards them. And in the beginning can be very intoxicating. Oh, I'm getting all these gifts. We're doing all these things. But the reality is it's not about you or for you. It's for them to feel okay in justifying the way they treat you, the way they see you, and to sort of give themselves a heightened sense of meaning and power and greatness. The next one is they will minimize your role, especially if you are the primary care provider of the children or the home, whatever it is. They don't see anything that's not, valued by the world as valuable. And let's face it, we don't value the work that parents do in the home anywhere near the way we should. And that is especially true for narcissistic men. So they see this as beneath them. They have no problem hiring out help. They have no problem sourcing out childcare and child rearing, because to them that's a thankless job. And if it's thankless, then why would I do it? And so you often feel devalued and not appreciated and sort of menial in the role that you play. With some narcissistic men, as I said before, if they have money, it's part of like getting their way, but it can also be used in a way to let them do what they want. So they might give you some money to do what you want with, so you'll leave them alone, so you won't check on them. So they can justify their power and their desires and their wants and needs. And so it's always used as some tool, whether it's to just distract you or to get what they want. Number 21 is that you represent an image of him until you don't. And this basically means that when you no longer provide supply, when you no longer are a good reflection of him, then there is disregard for what you really want and what you really need and who you really are. And this opens the door to them justifying whatever they want to do, whether it's affairs or purchasing items or taking trips or going with their friends or developing hobbies. You no longer represent them, and they can then justify pretty much doing anything they want to you. And this is where it gets dangerous, especially if you decide to leave them. The last issue I think that is really apparent with a narcissistic man is that at the end of the day, you feel deeply alone. Even if you are in this relationship that everyone thinks is so great, on the outside, you have everything, you have nothing, whatever it is, you end up feeling alone at your core because you've never been actually seen and appreciated for who you are. And as I said in the beginning, the odds are you're probably a caretaker. You probably were great at meeting people's needs. You probably are great at that. You're a loving, empathic human. But for a narcissistic man, this is his greatest, most confident source, because what he will do is he will choose people that he knows will take care of the kids, will take care of issues, will take care of him, will cater to him. They're very smart in this way. They know who to choose. They know who the pleasers are. And we often emerge from these relationships depleted with nothing but barely our sense of self intact, because we were seeking our own value through caretaking because of our own childhoods. So that goes back to this. If you have woken up today and found yourself with a narcissistic man and husband, there's a very good chance that it goes way beyond him, right? Of course, if you do a lot of psych work, you know that you chose him for a reason, seeking to heal your own wounds, your own story. And it is imperative that you get support, whether you decide to stay and manage the relationship, if you decide to leave. Especially if you decide to leave, I would highly encourage you to get help, which is part of the problem oftentimes, because the resources for therapy and things like that I know are harder to obtain. But whatever you can do, watching these videos on YouTube, I'll link some more good ones down below. But it is really important you get support, because if you decide to leave a narcissist man or woman, frankly, it will be, especially with kids, one of the hardest things you ever do, and truly you never really get to leave them. Maybe when the kids are fully grown, I've seen relationships sort of get easier, but the truth is that because of that need to control, and because if you leave them, they cannot tolerate the rejection, there will always be boundary violations, manipulation, control, conflict, chaos, and it can be very, very toxic for you, for your kids, and for everyone. And it's not an easy thing to solve. It really isn't. But the truth is that the more they see you as valuable, the more valuable you are. But when you're not valuable and something else is, they're happy to move you right out of the way and take everything you have in the process. All right, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you will please feel free to post down below things you think I forgot, or more of what you think. I think this is more like a low-key narcissist. I think that the ones that are just overt, in your face, so obnoxious, like why would you marry someone like that? Although people still do that. I think it's much more likely that they're charming in the beginning. They lure you in, and you have your own wounds, right? And you think you found yourself a place of home, but really it's kind of a hell, and it will get worse and worse as the years go by, which I'm sorry to say, but it is very true. So whatever you do, please stay safe and well. Please get good support, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.